Welcome to Black and Gold Digital Edition, a behind-the-scenes look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi, and welcome to Week 9 of our digital show. I'm Puskar alongside Mike Fenner and Kent Urbanski. And guys, it wasn't easy on the eyes by any stretch, but the Steelers have won 3 in a row. They did it in Cleveland, and they had to do it without their place kicker for the rest of the second half. What do you make out of the outcome of that game, Mike, and just the Pittsburgh Steelers finding themselves back in the mix in the AFC North?
Comes down to just gritty play along the offensive line. It comes down to gritty play from the defense, a big turnover late in the game, and you felt like when Boswell wasn't going to come back in the game due to concussion protocol after that fake field goal try that they were going to be in trouble because, I mean, they had Presley ready to go there for extra point. You didn't know if he was actually going to come out and kick it. They're like, I guess we still got to go for 2. And it just felt like when they were chasing the game there with the odd numbers, it wasn't going to work out well for them. But fortunately, like I said, that late game turnover seemed to be the difference.
And Ken, you got to imagine, Tomlin right after the press conference came out and said, hey, that's on me. I made a bad call. We made a bad execution, but it solely starts with me.
Yeah, and and I knew that Harvin wasn't going to be kicking because when I came out after the half, he wasn't practicing. He wasn't, taking any, field goal attempts. So I'm like,
and his kickoffs were not that good.
And no, the one was pretty good. And
the first one went out of bounds.
That was, but the second one was pretty good. And I even said that a photographer standing next to me, I'm like, well, if he can kick that, why can't he kick, one through the uprights? But I guess it's a whole different, scenario when you got guys, in front of you and everything, and you need to get elevation on the ball. But I even told the guy, one of the photographers that I'm like, they're going to be going for 2. The whole, if they score, they're going to have to be going for 2. And he's like, yeah, that's a good point. Sure enough, and when they went for 2, and you got Roethlisberger moving a little bit, and he scored. I'm like, wow, you actually can move for an old guy. And then they took it away, so that was kind of that was a bummer for him. But yeah, you're right. Tomlin, he took the responsibility for that, and as he should have, was probably one of his. I don't think he needed to do that. There was no desperation at that point, and he didn't need to do that at that point. I think he realizes that we're all human, right?
I thought it was also funny, too, when Pat Freiermuth came out for his post-game comments and everything, and he's like, we were going for 2, but I didn't know why, because we got it and then we had the penalty. Then it was going to be, the 2-point conversion from the 12-yard line, and we were still going for it. He still didn't know what was going on, but it was the fact that they were without a place kicker for the rest of the game. And, guys, I was sitting up in the press box watching the game, too, and I'm starting to do the math where it's like if they're going to go for it on 4th down and not kick field goals, you're missing points, and those points were coming at a premium in a matchup like that. So it's going to be interesting going into this Monday night showdown, what they've been able to do over the last week, just trying to get guys prepared, signing guys to the practice squad.
Yeah. Well, Pat saying that in the press conference, makes me feel better about not knowing what I'm talking about on this digital show. So.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely a good time. Cam Hayward even dropping some zingers here and there with all his teammates and everything. So, Mike, when you have those moments where Cam Hayward comes out and talks about Pat Freiermuth finally winning a game in Ohio and having that lightheartedness, what does that do for the morale, the fact that they've won 3 in a row and they've gotten themselves out of this early season hole?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to have those moments when you win and you can enjoy, kind of the back and forth there. I mean, the morale has to be high right now. 3 straight wins, a bye, you got yourself in a great position, and now you have back-to-back NFC North teams and games where you think these should be wins on paper. This should be the cushion you need going into that tough stretch to end the year. So the morale has to be high right now. Plus, you get the extra day of rest with the Monday night game and that turnaround. So I'm sure these guys are loving life this week. I mean, I've had 3 straight wins, and things look a lot different than they did after the first 4 games with that 1-3 start.
Hey, winning on the road is tough, and especially at a division rival like that, So I was impressed with the way they went in there, and it's 3-3 at the half. I mean, it was you didn't know how that game was going to unfold, and I think the Steelers, took charge of it in the second half, came away with a victory, a very important victory.
You make a great point, too, about going on the road and getting a victory. I mean, we're seeing it all over the NFL where teams that are expected to win aren't winning, especially if they're home.
And we
were shocked, as we were getting ready for the post-game comments from Coach and the players was, the Cincinnati Bengals going on the road and losing to the Jets, to an unknown quarterback. So, I mean, you'll take these wins whenever you can get them, especially if they're divisional games. And now the Steelers are 1-1 within the AFC North, and they're right back in the driver's seat with games in hand. So it'll be interesting to see. But as Mike alluded to, the Steelers are going to be back home for the next 2 games. both games with NFC North teams coming into town. The first being the Chicago Bears. And Kent, every time I'm thinking of Chicago now, I think about our trip to Green Bay. We stopped in the Windy City for a deep dish pizza. It was awfully good. But the play of their football team, not so much, with Justin Fields and company coming into town.
That reminds me of a MASH episode when those guys were over there and they wanted to get Adam's ribs ordered all the way over in Korea from Chicago. So I'm wondering if we can get a hold of Jesse James, who used to play for the Steelers, see if he can bring back one of those.
I know you've got connections.
Right,
you can
bring back
happen.
one of those deep dishes, right, take place of one of those 3-day-old sandwiches they serve up when we head to the stadium. But anyway, I think going into this game here with the Bears, you can't play down to the opponent, especially at home on a Monday night. Coming off a big win in Cleveland, you can't get lax. You have to keep your foot, on the gas and get an early start on this team. Put them away early, never let them in the game.
And Mike, they usually play pretty well on Monday nights, usually even in prime time in general, but the Steelers have been known this season to have some slow starts. Like Ken said, how important is it to get off to a good start, really have the fan base support you right from the opening kick?
The key will be making Justin Fields uncomfortable, and he's already shown in the last 3 weeks, and several weeks really, that he's turnover prone, he's mistake prone. So the Steelers just have to get that pressure early on him and make him uncomfortable, force him into bad throws, force him into bad decisions. If they can get a couple early turnovers, you're going to have short fields, and they should be able to take care of business. This looks like a nightmare matchup for Chicago because, like I said, they're already prone to doing those things anyway, and Pittsburgh's so good at making even good quarterbacks do those things, let alone a rookie quarterback who's still finding his way. The Bears have lost 3 in a row. They've had tough matchups the last 3 weeks, but they're still trying to find their way with Fields and trying to feel that out. So I guess if you're Chicago, it's not Andy Dalton, but that's not a really high bar, I guess, to clear at this point. Now that he's kind of on the back end of his career as a backup.
Right.
And Kent, with the injuries that are well documented at this point up front with the defense for the Steelers, do you get the sense that these guys are stepping in and playing awfully well, and this defense is really starting to come together? Because the last couple of weeks now, it's been the defense that's had to preserve the victories for the black and gold.
Held the Browns to 10 points. They shut their running game down, and I was concerned about that going in, that a healthy Nick Chubb was going to have a great game, and I think they did a good job of shutting him down, which gives me confidence going into this game here. But what you can't let happen is give them these little splash plays that gives them the Bears and Fields confidence, And the Steelers have been known to do that. If you can limit that right from the start, put pressure on.
And or bad penalties,
too.
Yeah,
true. Yeah, that is exactly right. So pressure on him, like Mike says, keep him uncomfortable. I don't know that their run game is very good. Offensive line's a little dinged up and not very good. I think, being a home game, fans are on your side there. It's a recipe for victory, but you can't make stupid errors.
Mike, lastly, just the overall momentum. I mean, we see it in football especially, that once you kind of get that fire going, it starts to really pick up, and it seems like Pittsburgh's starting to catch their groove, and really this schedule's starting to shape up a little bit better than we thought going into the season.
This is the stretch they have to take advantage of, where they got the win in Cleveland. Now you have to win these 2 NFC North games, or else there could be that trouble ahead with the schedule after that. But this is the stretch you have to capitalize on. And the one thing I like that Jeff Hathorn said in our regular show is just not getting too comfortable or not getting too full of yourself, and sticking to who you are with the identity, especially on the offensive side of the ball, of just knowing what we are, sticking to that identity, and just knowing your limitations and knowing what you do well. Because if
and
they
not
come
playing
out
down to the competition, because they are notorious for doing that too.
That, or just trying to get too cute with what they do offensively and trying to become something that they are not. They just need to stick to who they are, do what they do, and they should be all right.
And that's a great point, because Kent, we saw that against the Browns. The fake field goal and some of the trick plays offensively early. I thought, wow, there's a lot of gadget plays really early in a divisional game that it just didn't seem like they had the confidence in what their game plan was going to be.
Or trying to, like Mike said, do a little bit too much when it's not necessary. The offensive line for the Steelers is playing a lot better. And I'm even going to note Dan Moore at left tackle. I thought he had a great game in Cleveland, only giving up 1 sack to probably one of the best pass rushers in the league. So I think, that with Najee Harris running the way he's running, I look for him to have a 100-yard game. It might not be a high-scoring game, and it doesn't need to be, as long as you're controlling the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and Najee's doing what he does best. I don't see a way that they can lose this game.
Bottom line, just get the W and move on. And that's all that's the matter for the Pittsburgh Steelers as they get ready to host the Chicago Bears in week number 9 on Monday night. Well, guys, thanks so much as always. So for Mike Fenner and Ken Urbanski, I'm Jay Puskar. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for Black and Gold Digital Edition.